Morning, everyone. It's Joe Waxman, and I'm back with another video. This morning, I would like to look at the chart of renowned actor Al Pacino. Let me share my screen. So we all know Al Pacino, most famous for his roles as Michael Corleone in the Godfather trilogy, and as well as Scarface and Serpico and a bunch of other movies, right? Famous, huge actor, right? Born the 25th of April, 1940, 11:02 a.m., Manhattan, New York. Okay. He's got his sun tightly conjunct Saturn in Taurus, squarely in the 10th house. Very, very strong position. Sun in Taurus. Taurus is very much related to the voice, speaking ability, obviously, and the senses in general, creativity, beauty, all those things. Saturn tightly conjunct the sun is a difficult aspect. Saturn tightly conjunct any planet, or even widely conjunct, is very difficult, especially in the younger years, causes a lot of restriction and hardship. Starvation. Saturn is said to starve any planet it touches. So this is a difficult relationship with the father, very much so. I can't comment on that as far as his life goes, but just very difficult with authority. I do know that he was a bit of a troublemaker when young. Saturn really does not favor youth. Saturn favors maturity, and it's going to restrict youth and young people, and as well as immaturity. And it takes time to develop, it takes time to mature, and it causes a lot of fear and doubt as well. So a person, it's not just from the outside, it's also from the inside. Saturn will, get you, a lot of these planets will work in multiple ways, internally and externally. You'll have like a sort of external projection of the same thing, in your life. What can't be, what can't be experienced internally. But Saturn is always that doubt, that fear, that restriction, that voice, the inner voice saying, "No, I can't do that. I'm not good enough." And if it's not you saying that, it's somebody else saying that. It's with Saturn, it's older people, authorities, restriction some way or another, just telling you, like, keeping you back, right? And he did not, he wanted to be an actor, but he did not have his first big role till he's 29. And that is a little bit, I mean, that's not that old, it's pretty young still. But when you're trying to be an actor and you're going for years without any real success, it does feel like a long time. But it's in such a prominent position. So that's helping, as well as all these other planets too, which we'll get to. But yeah, this is extremely prominent. And, as he matures, as he grows into this Saturn, it's going to give him a lot of authority and a lot of weight. Also, being in Taurus, it's going to, this is a lot of what's responsible for his growly, deep voice, because Taurus rules the voice. So does, as the second house does as well, right? Also Venus. So Venus, Mars, all the Taurus, Sun, Saturn, Uranus, the square to Pluto, which we haven't even talked about, and then Mercury ruling the second and third in Aries conjunct the South Node. Anyway. There's a lot going on with that kind of energy that is a bit tense. Sometimes with Saturn, when it's prominent in the chart, when it's conjunct the sun or the ascendant lord or the moon, can really so-called ruin a chart, where it causes so much doubt and insecurity and fears. The person never actually achieves their true talents, because they're too doubtful and scared. Obviously, with so many planets in the 10th house, and Leo, he's able to overcome, and this 5th house moon and such, overcome the fears and the doubts and the insecurities. And then Saturn becomes a source of strength. If you can overcome Saturn's negativity, Saturn becomes very strong. It endures, and it gives a lot of authority, right? It's like the glass ceiling. It's like, the top. You can overcome. It's a huge hurdle for a lot of people, especially when it's a Saturn that is touching a lot of personal planets that is influential in the chart. If you can overcome that, it's very very strengthening, very gives a lot of good benefits. Like you become really a leader and an authority, right? And this is so prominent, right? So like, who's bigger than Al Pacino in Hollywood? I mean, not many people. This is such an authoritative, big, powerful actor, right? He's got his moon in Sag in the fifth house. Fifth house is excellent for acting, any sort of performance, creativity, right? It's trine not by degree, but by sign, trine the ascendant, obviously, fifth house. So it's a very prominent, very good position for the moon. It's also nicely trine Jupiter, and the south node, a little wide to Mercury, but still. And Jupiter rules Sag, so this is a really nice trine, right? It's making a trine to its dispositor Jupiter, and any trine to Jupiter between Moon and Jupiter, any good aspect between Moon and Jupiter is excellent, right? We see this often with celebrities. Good Moon Jupiter connection, either conjunct or trine or sextile, sometimes opposite, but that's excellent. And Jupiter is tightly conjunct South Node and the MC, and then South Node is conjunct Mercury. And so, yeah, again, very powerful. Jupiter in Aries will be very, very inspirational, like as a teacher, because Jupiter represents, it's also ruling the 8th and 9th house cusp. So Jupiter here is very influential. It's very powerful in his career, and also like Jupiter can be the teacher naturally. It's the guru. It's the faith. It's the enthusiasm. So like Aries is so inspiring. So here, like when he's speaking, when he's on stage and he's giving like a performance, right? He's not only have this Sun and Saturn, he's also got this Jupiter and Aries. So he's like able to really like motivate people and inspire people and make people feel, because Aries has that ability to ignite people's passions and get them, because it's the fire star, it's cardinal fire, it's the first sign, right? So the nature of fire is that it needs that spark of inspiration, and then it can go ablaze, right? And Aries has that ability. And Jupiter, especially with South Node Jupiter, I have South Node Jupiter, mine's in Taurus, but South Node Jupiter is a natural teacher. So here he's just naturally inspiring. Like he can just get up on stage and like either perform like as in acting, or just start speaking. Like he could be a very powerful motivational speaker even, because he's also got the South Node Mercury in Aries. And it's so prominent, right? He really is a natural leader, a natural, stage performer, speaker, leader, that can really motivate people and make people just feel like they just get all like very fired up with Al Pacino, and we get that, we feel that, like he's so powerful, like say hello to my little friend, like, okay, I'm bad at impressions, but you get the picture, like, we feel him, that's all this Aries, the Taurus, right? It's so inspiring, so passionate, so fiery, right? And that's the trine the moon as well. Jupiter trine moon is excellent, right? Because Jupiter exalts in the sign of moon, Cancer, and Jupiter is the great benefic. So, moon is the heart in the inner mind. And so it benefits from a strong Jupiter. Now, South Node can damage Jupiter somewhat, because South Node is it's the past. It shows skills of the past, things that we're naturally good at. So he's like he knows how to be very enthusiastic, and he knows how to, if you want a pep talk, like Al Pacino would be excellent to have a pep talk. Like if you just need cheering up, Al Pacino would like, I mean, he could really inspire you in a very fiery, passionate way, hot-blooded temper way, like just a really like explosive, fiery way. But you know, his own enthusiasm might be marred at times because South Node can do that. Like Jupiter benefits South Node, but South Node drains Jupiter. So his own enthusiasm, he might have periods where he's down and out, right? Because his own enthusiasm is just drained and he's just out of fire. He's out of inspiration. He just needs downtime where he's just not feeling it and he's not enthusiastic and he's not happy and he's kind of depressed because South Node can drain that Jupiter. And Mercury too. I mean, Mercury's the intellect and you know, so he's very smart and very you know, he knows how to express himself, he knows how to communicate and all that, but South Node can deplete that as well. Ascendant in Leo. I mean, Leo ascendant again is like super powerful, super strong, confident, excellent for any sort of creativity, performance, being recognized, you know, fame, confidence, all the ego. It's got a conjunction to Pluto and Pallas Athena. And they're both square the sun and Saturn. So that's intense, right? Pluto square the sun, Pluto square Saturn. I mean, no wonder he's getting all these roles as like mafia tough guy, you know, like criminal, or even as a cop, you know, like I don't think I've ever seen Serpico, but I think he's a cop. He's some kind of like, anyway. But he plays these tough guy roles, like, and that's Pluto. That's sun square, that's sun in Taurus tightly conjunct Saturn in the 10th house square Pluto in Leo, right? At least the sun is making aspect to its ascendant, or the sun is making aspect to sun as dispositor. That's good. But this Pluto square sun is, that's like, oh, it's just hard. It's super intense is what it is. Because Pluto is so like deep and passionate and destructive. And then sun and Saturn are just like, you know, sun is the king and Saturn is the father, it's the authority, the glass ceiling, it's the law or the enforcement of the law enforcement. It's like, you know, he's either a cop or he's a bad guy, but he's the law. Like you don't F with Al Pacino because he's the top dog, right? And either way, he's gonna get you, whether he's the bad guy or he's the cop, he's gonna get you. And he's super powerful, and this is square to Pluto, and it's just super intense. And like, I mean, I think we all get it. Like, it's just Al Pacino, right? It's just that raw intensity, right? That's the Aries too, and you know, and then we have the Uranus in Taurus in the 10th house. I mean, it's conjuncting the 11th house cusp, but it's still so super prominent. And that's also very, very dynamic, right? Uranus is that shocking electric ability, right? And when in a prominent position like this, it's just going to add that dynamic, explosive energy to his acting ability, right? Like just that ability to just be like fiery and explosive. And we're repeating the same theme again and again with Al Pacino. It's like, oh my God, enough Al Pacino, like Jesus Christ. Like, freaking heck, give us the rest here. Because he's got Venus and Mars conjunct 5 degrees in Gemini. So Gemini is the expressive ability, right? Like my sun is exactly conjunct his Mars. So Gemini loves to talk. Gemini loves to express itself. Gemini is, you know, the skills of the hands. And we want to see this for actors. We want to see Taurus and Gemini, 2nd, 3rd house emphasis. 1st, 2nd, 3rd house, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, extremely important for actors. These signs and houses, we want them to be strong. Mars and Venus together, so passionate. You see a lot of times in musicians. But here, this is creating like very passionate expression, right? Very intense, passionate expression, also charming, extremely charming, but like easy to switch between like, hot tempered passion, like anger or sweetness. And so like, you can imagine like it's also opposite the moon. So like if he's in, whether he's with a man or a woman, he's just like, he can explode any minute, or he can be really sweet and kind, and he can go back and forth, and he can be like very charming and then very angry and then very passionate and very intense. And it's just all over the place. And he's very dependent on relationships because the moon opposite Venus, but also Mars. So like sex, sex and relationships and expression. And he's so intense, and he goes after what he wants. And he can probably get it really easily. And he's hot blooded. Like he's like, to say he's hot blooded is, I think, a little too mild. He's like fire blooded. He's so passionate, so intense. In real life, I think he's really like that, because that's the kind of roles, it's really interesting reading celebrities' charts, especially actors, because they get the kind of roles that they really are in real life. Like that's really fascinating. Like, yeah, I see it again and again and again. Like Al Pacino gets these roles because he's really like that. I mean, it's not a stretch for him at all to be like this super intense kind of guy who's just like either who's like a boss, who's like either a good guy or a bad guy or something in between. He's both. He's good and bad, and he's super intense, and he's like, don't F with Al Pacino, because he'll explode on you, and who knows what will happen then. But I mean, extremely powerful, extremely expressive, extremely intense. I mean, he's pretty dependent on his relationships, emotionally dependent upon, having those people, the women in his life and the men. He wants to chat it up. He wants to romance. He wants to do all of it, like, with friends, with lovers, with all of that. Right. And the Mars, Venus is sextile the Mercury, Jupiter, and that's good. That's a nice relationship. That's harmonious. And that's good also because Mercury rules Gemini, so it's making good aspect to its dispositor. And the sextile to Jupiter is always good. Healthy. Mercury is also ruling the second and third house, conjunct the south node. So again, like this Mercury is like conjunct the south node. I mean, this guy's so expressive and just knows how to express himself like so completely and fully. It's really, I mean, he's born to be an actor. Let's see what else. So south node conjunct the MC shows that he's really naturally rising to recognition and fame and the heights of, with all these planets. I mean, 11th house, this is house of career success and groups and networks, hopes, wishes, dreams. But it's excellent for career success. It's excellent for popularity, for being recognized, gaining attention. Saturn's also ruling the 6th and 7th house, so like relationships are tied to conflict as well. So and the square to Pluto. Yeah, he's definitely controlling and difficult in relationships. Like he's so passionate, and like, I'm sure he could romance, the pants off of women, panties, but he's very controlling and difficult, and it brings a lot of conflict into his relationships, right? The 6th house ruled by Saturn, as well as the 7th house. So relationships and conflict, difficulty, challenges, square to Pluto. Sun combusts the 7th house Lord. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's love and hate. It's love and hate all over the place with Al Pacino. Very passionate, a lot of fighting, a lot of intensity. North node is conjunct the IC in Libra. So as he gets older, he's definitely going to be much more about peace and relationships. Like when he was young, just super hot-blooded, like your typical, this is like your Italian hothead. I mean, I don't like stereotypes. It's not really a stereotype because it's in his chart. It just so happens that he's Italian and that he's got this super hot-blooded chart, right? And he's fighting all over the place, and he's just like, arrogant and boastful and cocky, and and he can back it up. Like he's got it all, right? But as he gets older, he wants to be at home and he wants to be peaceful and calm and Libran. And that's good because he's now he can make peace. He can have a good relationship with his kids. He can be at home. He wants to be at home with his family, with his wife. I don't even know if he's married or not married, but if he has a wife, then he's going to have a much better relationship with her as he gets older. He still has all this, 10th house influence, 11th house. So he's still going to be prominent in the limelight, but not as much, less so as he gets older. Right, he's going to be a little more quiet, a little more peaceful, less hot-blooded, learning how to be fair and balanced in relationships, which when he was young, no, selfish, completely hot-headed, not really considering anyone else, just me, and taking what he wants and not really caring about anyone and just being, and being what he is, whatever, just everything I already said. What else? Chiron is kind of square the nodes. It's a little wide, but it's still square the nodes, and that's interesting. And that's also square Mercury. So at some point in time, there was mental issues where he really did not have, there could have been mental health issues, depression. This 12th house is not an area that we can really recognize, and having this Chiron here that's in difficult aspect, it's going to cause a lot of pain in his subconscious. That's very difficult to identify and understand. Yeah, and it's going to come through with his intellect and his expression. So I think there was certain mental health problems that he had somewhere along the way that he's going to have to learn to deal with. His intellect and expression might have had some issues early on in his life that he had to work through, but because of the South Node, I think it probably wasn't that hard. I mean, or maybe not that hard, but that he definitely had the ability to work through it. Again, he didn't have success till he's 29, so that might have been something to do with it. Like early on, he just wasn't. He had some issues that he had to work through, some mental health issues. But Chiron in the 12th, especially in Cancer, I think is quite creates a lot of empathy and concern. And I don't know, like, is in real life whether he's like caring for others, compassionate, but I would think that he does have good, especially as he gets older, hopefully he can find I think potentially there's a lot of empathy here, a lot of empathy for the down and out, because it's Cancer is very caring, and 12th house shows our subconscious motivations, right? And Chiron is a teacher, a healer, so especially if you can heal these wounds, then you can be very empathetic towards others, and towards the needy people in life, the people who are wounded, rejected, sick, down and out, all that. Small guy, little guy. Neptune is part of this T square with Moon opposite Mars. And this is a bit abusive also. I gotta say, Mars opposite Moon, Mars, Venus, especially for a man. He can definitely be violent, especially verbally. I mean, Gemini is much more intellectual rather than physical. So Mars in Gemini loves to argue, loves to verbally fight. So he can be really, I think, more than physically, he can be just like super hot tempered and like verbally abusive, maybe physically abusive, but definitely verbally abusive. right? And then the square to Neptune, it's in the second and third house. So he'll definitely be prone to exaggeration, fantasy, delusion, especially when he gets angry or emotional or overly passionate. It's going to come out with this Neptune, with this, and he might turn to drinking and drugs as well. I don't know, but definitely, there could be a lot of illusion, delusion, fabrication. Like if he gets out of balance emotionally, he's just gonna be a hot mess. He's gonna be overly passionate, and he's not gonna make sense, and he's just gonna be. It's the focal point of the T square is this Neptune, and Neptune is just, it's not really a planet that's in touch with reality. So he's going to be capable of lying, or even if he's not lying, it's just going to be fantasy and not related to reality, right? And it's just going to be emotional and hot-tempered and explosive, and this is all mutable, so it's all over the place. Yeah. Also, if we look at the declination and the speed, it's got nothing stationary, no stationary planets, but Venus is quite out of bounds. So let's just check that out. So Venus being out of bounds, he's very indulgent, let's put it that way, especially because it's opposite the moon. So for his emotional satisfaction, he needs to indulge in talking, as well as, like the passions and the intellect. And again, I think probably he loves women for sure. And he loves flirting with women. And yeah, and what else? I have Venus in Gemini, so I should know. He can just be a major flirt, and overly passionate, and overly talkative, and extremely social. Let's put it that way. I mean, Venus in Gemini is not so materialistic, because Gemini is so intellectual, but Mars and Venus kind of are, though. So there's probably some combination of material indulgence, but more intellectual, social, just flirting, nonstop flirting with women, pretty much. So, and Lilith is the true and the mean are pretty conjunct. So it's right there in Pisces it's the ninth house cusp, but I guess still somewhat influenced in the eighth house. So he's probably pretty sexual, and that's opposite Neptune as well. Neptune is the co-ruler of Pisces. So yeah, he's probably pretty sexual, but anyway, very attractive to women, I would guess. So anyway, that's pretty much it for Al Pacino. I mean, dynamite chart, right? Like super, super passionate, intense, and it's no wonder he's world famous. I mean, it's really, really intense, strong chart. All right, guys, that's it for now, and I will see you soon. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share if you enjoy this content. And go to my website, macroastrology.com, to book a reading. All righty, I will see you soon. Bye.